Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cosi Talks Live. All right, for those of you watching the replay, thank you for doing so. And I would invite you to give me a shout out in the comment section. Just say replay, hey Cosi. If you have a question for me that you were not able to ask me live, go ahead and put it in there. And I do go back and check after the show is over and answer any questions that came in afterwards. I'm going to give you guys a minute or two to jump on board. We've had a very quiet 2 weeks on the Cosi Talk show. Lots of good stuff going on, and I'm going to go ahead and get us started on Instagram. Here we go. And we are officially live on Instagram. Wonderful. All right, guys. I see a couple of you jumping on board. So as you come on board, y'all know the routine. Let me know who you are, where you're from, and what is in your mug. Hey, Harsh, good to see you. He's got Richmond with water. So guys, I'm in Florida. I woke up and it was 36 degrees this morning. Like, this is our third day in a row with this kind of weather. No, that does not work with me. It needs to stop. That's not what Florida is. We got Eric coming on board from Tennessee. There's my Tennessee boy with his hot chocolate, and I got my hot chocolate too. Cheers to you, Eric. We got Kim in Indiana waiting on snow overnight, drinking hot cocoa. Everyone's busting out their hot cocoa. I busted out the good stuff. I saved this stuff for like the once a year when I can actually use it in Florida. So yeah. No, insane. 36 degrees. What is that? Yeah, like our heating units, it cannot comprehend how to make the heating work. Hey there, Tom. Snowy evening. Yeah, I'll bet if I'm in the 30s here in Tampa, you're probably, I don't even want to think about where you're at in Canada, Tom. We got Richard coming on board from Mission, Texas with Gatorade tonight. All right, guys, let me just pop over. I'll keep popping over to the Instagram channel. Welcome any folks we got there. We got Ferris DBT jumping on board. We got Sydney Gilmore in the house in the Instagram channel. Awesome. All right. So we're going to give you guys another minute to jump on board. I know I've been kind of quiet these past 2 weeks on social media in general. Usually the end of the year for me is the time to kind of just like, whoo, wind down just a little bit and just kind of wrap things up with all the sponsors and get prepared for next year. I've got some exciting things coming in next year. So I'm kind of stoked to get things moving along. We got Emily coming in from her Central Pennsylvania amputee support group, had a fun holiday party with peppermint mocha cold brew. Nice. Hey there, Pat. Oh my gosh, he's got hot malt cider in his mug. Cheers to you guys. Let's get this evening started. For those of you joining me for the first time, welcome. My name is Cosi Belloso. I'm a physical therapist here in very cold Tampa, Florida right now. I've been a PT for a little over 23 years. It's actually, I think this is the anniversary. Today is the anniversary of my getting my license. I just realized that right now. Woohoo! And my passion is obviously working with the amputee and limb loss community. Hey there, Beth, in Florida right now. We got Martin coming in with water and grapes. Well, welcome aboard, guys. Not too many questions came in tonight. I know, like I said, I've been pretty quiet on social media lately, just working behind the scenes. So go ahead and feel free, guys, to start putting your questions into the comments section. Hey there, Nick. 8 inches of snow coming. Holy cow. Holy cow. I think the last time it snowed in Florida was like, I think 40 or 50 years ago. So it'd be kind of fun if that happened again. It'd be interesting. All right, let's see what's going on. We got a couple more people jumping on board with the with Instagram. We got Paul Walk. We got Buddy Leg coming in. We've got likewise to you, buddy. All right, let's see. Awesome. Whoops. And I just spilled my hot chocolate because you know what? That's how I roll. All right, let's tackle this first question. This first question came in from, let's see. Oh, we had the question that came in. Sorry, let me cover that one first. So we had a question that came in. Sorry, guys. I like literally just dumped hot chocolate all over the place right now. Asking about Ewing's amputation. Okay, and how it is compared to the AMI surgical procedure. So it's also called the AMI procedure. Okay, so I brought my handy dandy little clipboard because y'all know I'm like super, super high tech, right? So you have the AMI, and this was developed, I think, in 2014, and it stands for Agonist Myoneural Interface, right? So it was a procedure that was developed, I believe, in Boston in about 2014. And the purpose of this was to kind of help prepare the muscles in a way so that they could connect better to all the electrics in the prosthetic device to help with almost like a mind control device, right? So what the surgeons will do with an AMI procedure is they'll get the muscle belly of one muscle and attach it to the muscle belly of another muscle. That almost looks like a bikini. But it's not just any two muscles, right? They're going to try to connect the muscle pairs. We call them agonists and antagonists. Okay. So it kind of goes along the lines of for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. The human body is built that way, like with our muscle groups and things like that. So every muscle has an equal and almost opposite muscle group. Okay. So your quads kind of pair up with your hamstrings. Your biceps pair up with your triceps, right? One muscle group will do one action and its antagonist will do the opposite action. So we have these muscle pairs all throughout our body. So whenever your surgeon is doing an amputation, right, and they have to cut through these muscles, it depends on the procedure and it depends on what's going on with the patient. But in some procedures, the surgeon will try to reattach the muscles in a way that pairs them up together again with their naturally paired muscles, if that makes sense, right? So if somebody who's having an above the knee amputation, the surgeon's going to try to position the quads opposite to the hamstrings, the way they were meant to be paired up, okay? So when it comes to the AMI procedure, the AMI procedure, they will literally connect the two muscles together, okay? And then the whole point of that is to kind of also attach them to electrodes, right? It's kind of to set up the framework so that the patient can use the electrodes and, interface with their prosthetic device, okay? So the whole point with this procedure in particular is that when one muscle contracts, right, because it's connected to the other one, it pulls the other muscle with it and almost gives it like a little gentle tapping, right? A little stretch. And that stretch sends information, right? It sends information to the electrodes and to the person's brain, and the person receives nice feedback, right? And they get the sensation almost as if they had their foot still there or their leg still there. So it gives them a lot more of that proprioceptive feedback and allowing the person to better understand where their limb is in space, right? It's pretty cool technology. Hang on, let me pop over to the Instagram channel. Hey there, Tom from Maryland. Oh, Tom, how are you doing, man? I'd love to hear how you're doing and get an update from you when you can. We've got Paola on board. We've got Scott on board. We have somebody by the name of Buddy Leg who looks like he's having a not great day and kind of grumpy, but that's okay. All right. So with this AMI procedure, it just kind of facilitates the use of electric devices, okay? So with the Ewing's amputation, basically it takes the AMI procedure and applies it to the amputation. So that's basically what that means. I will be super, super honest. I have not worked extensively with patients who have had the AMI procedure, and it's something that I kind of want to start reading up on the literature just to see like, okay, where has this procedure gone? Is it successful? Is it a good thing? What's going on there. So that's something I kind of want to learn. So I kind of appreciate the person who asked me that question because it's going to make me go and do some research on my own and look up the information, which I will bring back to you guys once I learn more about it. All right, we got Jill on board. Hey there, Jill. Yeah, Beth says she brought the cold air down from New Hampshire. That's okay because again, like I said, look at this. Look at this. I am a hot mess. I just spilled my chocolate, but it's still good and I'm going to drink it. Oh, that's good hot chocolate. That's really good hot chocolate. All right. So now that I've got a few of you guys on board, I kind of want to ask you guys some questions tonight. So those of you who have been with me for a while, guys, oh my gosh, I know I'm like going off on the left. Like January 4th, Cosi Talks turns 7 years old. 7 years old. I've been broadcasting this show since January 4th, 2018. Crazy, right? Actually, I started the show like in 2017, late 2017, like trying to like test it out, but like really hardcore going for it 2018. Isn't that crazy? 7 years of doing the show. So anyways, those of you guys who have been with me for several years, some of you have been with me since the beginning, which by the way, thank you. You know that at the end of every year, I like to put out a survey. And with the survey, I ask questions. My sponsors get to ask you questions on this survey. And it's a really, really wonderful tool for me and for my sponsors to learn more about what you guys want for the show and just learning more about you. And I gotta tell you, my sponsors love this survey because, like, again, they get to hear about what you need, what the issues are with you and things like that. So you're going to see that survey coming out hopefully in the next couple of weeks. And yes, there will definitely be a giveaway associated with it because you know I love my giveaways. But in the meantime, guys, I'm just going to take advantage that there's a lot of you on board tonight. I want to hear from you. What do you want to see on the show? Like, and be honest, like I check my ego at the door. Do you like the general question and answer sessions like tonight? Do you like the sponsored ones where I bring in special guests and experts? Do you like having a mixture of both? What are some of the topics that you guys want to hear about? Like, tell me feedback on the show. And then also, like, stuff on social media. Like, I have videos all over the place on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and I have 2-minute chats. I have instructional videos. I have little videos of me with my patients. I have all sorts of different material. What kind of stuff do you guys want to see for next year? So I want to see a lot of people typing comments right now. Please, please, please. All right. We got Jill. Hey there, Scott. Good to see you, man. Emily says, as you know, I deal with lymphedema. Is there anything to wear with my prosthesis to help with the fit due to fluctuations? I'm in lymphedema therapy, trying to get the swelling down so that I can wear my prosthesis. Are there any compression garments that can go under the prosthesis to help manage the edema? Not really, Emily. So a lot of people sometimes will think that a liner is a compression device, and it's not meant to act as such. A liner fits snugly, and it should fit snugly, but it's not meant, it doesn't have a compression gradient. Okay, so like with our, of course, I can't find my shrinker. So things like compression garments, they provide more pressure distally at the end and then less pressure up as the garment goes up. And the whole point of that is to help encourage pump and circulation from down to up. A liner, it just provides continuous compression. Okay, so it's the same pressure on the bottom as it is on the top, which means it's not going to help pump fluid out. While you're wearing your actual prosthesis, Emily, I'm not, and again, check with your lymphedema specialist. While you're wearing your prosthesis, your body is acting as the compression device and as the pump, because as you're putting weight into your prosthesis, you are activating that pump and it's going to pump fluid out of your leg. That's why many of you, when you start walking, you start noticing that you're shrinking, okay? Because the act of wearing a prosthesis is helping pump the fluid and circulation out your leg. For someone like yourself, Emily, what you do when you're not walking, okay, and when you're not wearing your prosthesis, that's the part that's going to be more crucial to managing your lymphedema, okay? And many of you who don't have lymphedema, you guys can attest to this. You take your prosthesis off and some of you experience that rebound swelling, especially those of you who are still in the first 2 years of your amputation, after your amputation, okay? So again, when it comes to managing the lymphedema, what you do when your leg is off. And this also goes for those of you who are in the first 2 years of after your amputation, when you're trying to manage that limb volume fluctuation where it puffs up, it goes down, it puffs up, it goes down. Wearing your shrinker, for example, when you're not wearing your prosthesis, that's the first thing. So Emily, I don't know if for you how your day is structured. You know, are you on your feet for a lot of the day? Or do you find that you are sitting down for a portion of the day, standing and walking another portion of the day? You know, do you switch back and forth? You know, in which case do you want to, when you're not actively standing and walking, do you want to remove your prosthesis and put on your shrinker, right, to encourage that compression when the time that you're not standing? Okay. And every other thing, guys, managing nutrition. That's something that I've become a lot more vocal about over the years with my patients and also on the show. So obviously I can't give nutritional dietitian advice because I'm not a licensed dietitian, but I can say that managing your nutrition and hydration and really tackling that makes a world of difference when it comes to managing issues with lymphedema, managing issues with limb volume fluctuation, heck, managing all the issues that may have originally caused your amputation, blood pressure, diabetes, autoimmune disease. We're learning so much more now about how nutrition works and how much it affects our bodies. So this is something that I really advocate for nowadays when you're having issues like this. But Emily, for the moment, there's really not a compression device that you should be wearing under your prosthesis. The liner is what needs to be worn under your prosthesis to make sure that you don't get any kind of skin breakdown. Okay, let me keep reading. Hey there, Pastor David. Hey, Sean, good to see you. Hola, compadre. Good to see you, man. We got Chuck on board tonight with the YouTube channel. Guys, just as a reminder, I am broadcasting from my YouTube channel, my Instagram, and my Facebook channel. So sometimes folks have, different places where they want to find me. Paul Rock Run Again says the research study involving Dr. Carty's Ewing study has been published. Well, thank you for letting me know that, Paul. If you happen to have a link for that, I would greatly appreciate it. I see Mariella on board. Good to see you. And Just for Fun has joined in. So glad to see all my Instagram folks on board as well. Thank you, Jill. It's been 7. I know. I think about it. I was like, oh my gosh, I've been doing this, guys, for 7 years. 7 years. And when I first started, I had no idea what I was doing. Sometimes I still don't know what I'm doing, and where this was going to take me. So this has been, it has been an incredible journey, Harsh. I agree. So it's a mixture. So Emily, what you want to do is plan on, when you're not actively standing and walking, talk to your lymphedema therapist about what you can do. Do you pop your leg off and quickly put on a compression garment so that you don't get that rebound swelling? Another thing, and you guys know that my favorite tool, and actually I'm going to be publishing a series of videos, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, and a new cheat sheet, new podcast on limb volume management in conjunction with Click Medical. So you guys know I do really love the Click Medical adjustable socket systems. It's called the Revo Fit. This one is actually in particular is called the Revo Surface, and it goes on top of the prosthesis, on an existing prosthesis. But for people who have a lot of issues with limb volume fluctuation, I really, really like these adjustable prosthetic sockets. It does kind of make life a lot easier when you can just kind of twist the dial, either to tighten or to loosen it without having to remove everything, and you can even do it through the pant leg. For those of you who experience volume fluctuation, this has been a game changer for a lot of you. Emily, again, it might help just to ask your prosthetist and say, hey, is this something that I could be a candidate for? Especially if you find that when you start walking and standing, that you start to shrink a lot. And it also can help accommodate up to 10 ply. So it's got quite a bit of room in there to expand and shrink for the days that perhaps you're a little more on the puffy side with the lymphedema. Mix of most current, what is new, and what can be expected. Okay, thank you guys. Eric says maybe seeing a hands-on with a patient on certain issues. Okay, let's see. Sean wants to know more about products for personal hygiene with liners, and I love seeing your guests. I need more information about my vacuum system, and are there better liners that are more durable? I'll tell you what, guys. In the 7 years I've been doing this show, I've worked with a lot of the folks in the O&P industry. I am still trying to get a partnership with a liner company, a company that makes liners, which is only kind of 2 big ones out there. But I have yet to be able to make a connection there. But no, I would love to kind of dig a little bit deeper into liners and do a little bit more work there. So if there's anybody out there who knows of someone in the liner industry, give me a call. Let's see. Tatiana says, we like hearing others' questions and your answers. Until Andre gets his prosthetic, we are in learning mode. We will buy the below the all to get in shape. Thank you, guys. Harsh is asking, anyone use the amputee essential hot and cold therapy sleeve? Hola, comadre. So you guys like so Sean likes the different guests that come on board. We're going to have some guests next year that are kind of cool. I'm excited. Emily says, my swelling seems to be stuck in the knee and the thigh area. The distal end seems to be better. So that's probably where your liner ends, is what I'm guessing, Emily. So it might be that if they can figure out a way, And again, I'm brainstorming, Emily. This is, your therapist and your prosthetist obviously are the ones in charge here. I would wonder if putting a liner on and then doing a gentle wrapping that extends beyond the liner and goes up your thigh. Because with your lymphedema, if it sounds like it's like bunching up right where the liner ends and do you know what I'm trying to say? Or if they can figure out a way to make you a liner that's just extra, extra long where it extends further up on your thigh. Pastor David says he likes both question and sponsors and the practical experiences that you share. Okay. Richard says tips and tricks for each amputee type. Each type is different. Absolutely. Tom says questions that are asked and answered are amazing. I always love your special guests. Always a great variety. Great show all around. Thank you. I wish the show had been around when I first became an amputee. It would have helped me so much instead of having to figure a lot on my own. So thank you, Tom. No, and I appreciate the support. You have been amazing. Let's see. Thank you, Harsh. I appreciate that. Emily says, I'm not wearing the prosthesis yet because my swelling doesn't always allow it. The prosthesis has been too tight. Aside from a flexible liner, I have no adjustability in my prosthesis. So Emily, I would kind of maybe squeak the wheel just a little bit. And maybe, ask your prosthetist, just ask your prosthetist if they can, because they can build in the adjustability with the Revo Surface kit. So the Revo Surface is meant for an existing socket. So if you already have a socket that fits well and you just need it to be adjustable, they can add this and you can see it's like right on top, right? Okay. And from a functional standpoint, it works just like the Revo Fit. It just is installed a little differently. It goes right on top. And then that way you can trial it out, Emily. And if it works, then on the next socket, they can get you the Revo Fit, which is built within the socket itself. Let's see. Kenny says, I'm 4 years in with a BK and I still wear my shrinker at night. Wait, that could that could be a song title. And with a name like Kenny Jones, it looks like it'd be a country song too, Kenny. So yes, and guys, I always recommend for my folks, even after the first 2 years after amputation, a lot of people will still experience limb volume fluctuation. I mean, our bodies are dynamic. They don't stay the same, even from the morning till the night. Like, when I woke up this morning, my rings were so tight, I couldn't move them. And now they're spinning around on my fingers at the end of the day. And then when I wake up tomorrow morning, my fingers are going to be puffy again. Right. So it just affects you all more as amputees because obviously you're trying to get that residual limb into a socket. So even after the 2-year mark, I tell folks, save those shrinkers, and keep them updated. You should be replacing them. If you're using them every night, then you should replace them once or twice a year because they do get stretched out. Okay. And a lot of folks also find comfort, especially if they have a lot of extra soft tissue at the end of their residual limb. Having that compression garment just kind of helps keep things in place when they're asleep. Oh, Glenn, thank you. And guys, I'm sorry I was not able to do last week's show. We had quite a few people coming in and I was in the kitchen for 3 days cooking for a lot of people and family. So I do apologize that I missed last week's show, but Glenn, I appreciate that very much. Thank you. Yes. So Alps and Willow. And again, I've been trying to find a contact there and just haven't been able to do so. So there you go. Eric, I know you make custom liners. Actually, I did do a show with Ronnie, and it was not this year. I think it was in 2023, and we covered all the different kinds of liners. So I have done a liner show. Tatiana asked, do you recommend we buy the book or sign up for videos to start with? Honestly, it depends on your learning style. For me, I like to see videos because I'm a very visual learner. But I also love my book. There's a lot of things. And of course, now I don't happen to have a sample with me because, that would be meaning I was prepared for tonight. It just depends on what you prefer. A lot of people end up getting both. So they'll take the book or the videos with them to their therapy session, or they'll take their book with them to their therapy session to show their physical therapist, and the physical therapist can help them pick the exercises and assign them. And then they can go home and watch the videos and just kind of reinforce how to do the exercise. So when I created the Strong Body program, I meant for the books and the videos to kind of work together, just because it just, again, helps reinforce things a lot there. Benny says, have both questions and having sponsors on the show. I've been following you since before San Antonio conference. Benny, I'm looking over and I still, hang on, I'm going to show this. I'm going to show this. Check it out, Benny. Remember this? So in 2019, it was probably like a year and a half after I started doing the show, I went to my first Amputee Coalition conference in San Antonio with College Park. And this gentleman, ex-Marine named Benny Cortez, made this for me. And I have had it ever since. It sits right there on my bookshelf with my little Bob that somebody had sent me early on in the show. So I've had some of you on board since the very beginning, and I can't tell you how much I treasure that. Dan is asking, can you have the Revo Fit socket with the Velcro strap suspension? Yes, you can with a lanyard device. So the Revo Fit works with pretty much all different suspension systems, and Click Medical actually has their own suspension system. It's called the Revo Lock. And it's around here somewhere. I've just got a bunch of stuff over there right now. So if I move anything, everything is going to fall right on top of me. But they have, and it's like an inner lanyard. So it goes on the inside of the socket and it attaches to the end of the liner. But yes, it works with pretty much all different suspension systems. I can't think off the top of my head one that it doesn't work with. So yeah, let's see. Hang on, I'm looking at the Instagram channel. Let's see. Scott asks, like to find some in-between sizes on socks. Longer ones are too long, shorter ones fall inside the socket. Be nice to find a middle size. Yeah, I find myself often, Scott, when it comes to socks, I usually have my scissors out and I'm kind of slicing and dicing to make the socks fit my patients sometimes, especially if they have a seal-in ring with their liner. But again, this is where I kind of really like these Revo fits, because for me, what bothers me more is when like the person needs half a ply or just not a full ply sock, but just a little bit less than that. And like there's no in between on those socks sometimes. We got David on board from South Carolina drinking his green tea. Emily asks, can you explain using body wash versus body lotion on your limb? Is one better? My therapist said the wash might be drying out my skin. Yes. So when it comes to skin hygiene, hi, we have a visitor. She's going to come in and say hello because come on. Say hi. Hi. That's my number 2 right there. All right, guys. So when it comes to the skin hygiene, I'm really particular about teaching my patients. Okay. So before your amputation, your skin was open to air all day. Even if you were wearing pants, the skin was getting air and circulation and things like that. Once you have an amputation and you start using a prosthesis, it's kind of like wearing a plastic garbage bag suction cupped to your leg all day. I mean, that's basically what happens. So your skin takes on a lot more abuse and stress. Okay. And I tell people this, the skin on your residual limb needs to be treated with as much care as you treat the skin, or hopefully that you treat the skin on your face. Okay. So yes, no, Beth nailed it right there. I love Vital Fit. They are my favorite product line for skin care for amputees. They were a sponsor on the show for several years. So Vital Fit, it was designed by a dermatologist specifically for people who use prosthetic devices, and they have a whole line. They have a wash, they have a morning moisturizer, a nighttime moisturizer, and then they have the lotion to powder. Which I love that lotion to powder. But when it comes to the body wash, it's a really, really gentle body wash. And yeah, you don't want to dry out your skin. Your skin biome needs to be like the Goldilocks scenario, not too dry, not too moist, or oily. you kind of want to have a nice balanced skin. So one of the things I do like about the Vital Fit is it does kind of balance out the skin over time, which is nice. And it helps with like sweat and odor and bacteria and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, Emily, definitely you might need to, I mean, like I said, I recommend the Vital Fit, but you might just have to trial and error trying to find a body wash that's very, very gentle for your skin. Usually the ones that are meant for eczema that are very, very gentle. That's kind of what you want to use. Your dermatologist is another one who can make a nice recommendation if you have very sensitive skin. I'm trying to think. Usually things like some people like Ivory, just a very gentle soap that doesn't really strip a lot of the skin. And again, usually with my patients, I just say, okay, what are you using on the rest of your body? Is it too harsh for that? The body washes and the things with a lot of scented body wash. And I love all that kind of stuff, but it does dry you out a lot. It does dry you out a lot. So you got to be careful there. Yeah, dermatologists are wonderful. I love having a dermatologist on board. The other thing to think about is whatever you use on your skin typically is what I'll tell people to wash their liner with, unless it's one of those scented body washes. Again, you got to kind of nix on the scented stuff. So again, with the Vital Fit, with their cleanser, you can use that on the inside of your liner and just rinse it, rinse it, rinse it, rinse and rinse. Okay. But yeah, skincare is a part of being an amputee, residual limb care. So that's something that you kind of got to get on board. And I have some folks that they don't do anything in particular with their skin. They never have any problems. They have one of those nice complexions and good skin biome and they're good to go. And then I have other people that if you look at them the wrong way, they bust out into a rash. And then everything in between. So it's definitely something that you need to be aware of and definitely, address. All right, we got neem oil soap is very gentle and has antioxidants. Okay. Another thing is like I'm definitely looking more when it comes to personal care products. I'm looking more to find the things that are natural ingredients. So if I cannot pronounce the ingredients, I've kind of become picky about that with my own personal care products. So I'm looking more at the product lines. I can't make any recommendations on that right now because I'm still kind of testing them on myself. But just product lines that you can pronounce what's in the ingredients. So if you have this long list of ingredients and it's all chemicals, then chances are that's probably not going to react really well with your skin. Just kind of a general rule. So a lot of times I'll try to find the soaps that are just, that they have beef tallow. That's one of the items that I kind of start looking for now because it's a nice moisturizing agent for the skin. And just natural ingredients. There was another question here. Hang on, guys. I have to switch back and forth. Okay, so Nick is saying, he sent in a question. And he says, I'm scheduled for ankle fusion surgery on my right ankle, and I'm trying to gather information on what life will be like afterward, especially regarding walking, exercising, and daily activities. Okay. So he is going to have a right ankle fusion on one side and a below the knee on amputation on the other side. So, and I mentioned to Nick, I was like, the big key thing is going to be, post-op. With an ankle fusion, it's a pretty strict protocol that your surgeon is going to be giving you that you have to follow. So follow it to the letter, because you want that ankle fusion to heal well. Obviously, if you are at the point where you are requiring an ankle fusion, it probably means that your ankle's in pretty bad shape, right? And you want to let it heal completely. Okay, so they'll have you non-weight bearing for quite some time. Every surgeon's a little bit different. And that's usually the hardest part that some people have to follow because they have to really keep off the weight for a long time. Nick, in your case, because you are an amputee on the other side, I would recommend the use of a wheelchair. You guys have heard me talk, especially in recent weeks, that I do not really advocate for just using one prosthetic leg. So for example, if you are a below the knee amputee and your sound leg is out of commission, I do not recommend using the below the knee side, even if you have a walker and crutches, because I think it's way too much pressure on that side. So Nick, in your case, you may have to look at using a wheelchair until you're able to start weight bearing on that ankle. Okay, and that's basically to prevent any chronic injuries, overuse injuries on your amputated side. Okay. And then the second thing is yeah, you're going to have limitations, right? Your ankle's going to be fused, so it's not going to be able to move up and down and side to side the way a normal ankle would move. So when it comes to the rehab process, you're going to really want to focus on strengthening the muscles in your residual limb, because your residual limb is going to be taking more of the work. And then also the rest of the muscles on your right leg as well, especially the glutes and the upper thigh muscles. They have to be stronger to help compensate for the lack of movement that you're going to have in the ankle. Okay. So again, I've never laid eyes on you before, Nick, so I don't know how you're walking, now compared to, but if you have good mobility now, if you're having decent mobility now, you can reasonably expect to get that mobility back afterwards. You may have some limitations in certain activities. So for bicycling, things like that, you're going to have some limitations there. But again, you just want to make sure everything heals properly from the beginning. And that's going to be the key factor right there. Hey there, Ben Gregory. Howdy from Texas. Good to see you. All right, let's see. Let's see. Duke says, I'd like to see a show, or maybe you had one, with the differences from traditional socket to OI with different knees, foot, ankles. Are there differences that are required? That's an excellent question, Duke. I like Duke 69 Nova. That's a very interesting handle. So yes, I have done a lot of shows on osseointegration, and I can happily say that I'll be doing a lot more in 2025 as well. So yes, if you look on my YouTube channel, Duke, you'll be able to see the archive of my old videos that I've done for the past almost 7 years that are on Facebook and on YouTube as well. So yes, when it comes to the knees and things like that, I've seen the people who've had osseointegration, they're using the same knees and feet that traditional socket users are using. So nothing comes to mind right now of any knee that an osseointegration patient cannot use. Usually if there's any issues, it's because of the height of the person, or the build height. But that again, there's a lot of different ways to work around that. So I'm going to go out on a limb and just say there's no knee or foot that I can think of at the moment that an osseointegration person who has osseointegration cannot use. All right, there's one more question. Here we go. This person asks, what to expect and how to be prepared for my first PT sessions for below the knee amputation. And it's interesting you should ask that, because I actually have someone coming in, and a brand new person coming in tomorrow as well. Hot chocolate. Oh, that's good chocolate. Okay, so we talk a lot about like what are the things to expect when you're going in for your first prosthetic session, but nobody really asks what you do on the first PT session. So let me tell you. Okay, so with me and my patients, when I have a new patient come in, I do an evaluation. I do a head to toe evaluation. I do a pretty extensive history as well. I like to know everything I possibly can about my patients. For the most part, I don't get a lot of information. Unfortunately, I don't get hospital records. I don't get any kind of information because of the nature of my clinic. So I rely a lot on my patients to tell me about their medical history, their surgical history, their functional mobility history, like how they were, moving around before amputation, since then, and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of it is spent just getting to know my patients a lot. And also the next thing I do is I like to know what are my patients' goals. And that's something I really take into account very carefully. I want to know, what is it that my patient wants to be able to get back to doing, and how can we get that person there, right? How can we get them to accomplish their goals? And then with the physical examination, yeah, I do a head to toe examination. I'm not just looking at the residual limb. I'm looking from head all the way down, because everything is all connected, right? And there's oftentimes a few things that I will catch in that process that maybe the patient wasn't aware of or something that needed to be addressed. So a lot of the first session is taken up with this kind of evaluation. I always do my best because there's, it's 1 hour, which seems like a long time, but it goes by pretty quickly. And I do like to try to include some form of treatment with my patients. So it's either giving them an exercise that I want them to get started on, or working with them in the parallel bars with the prosthesis and starting to get them with those foundational exercises that they can start doing at home as well. Okay. The first couple of sessions after that, for both my above the knee and below the knee, I spend a lot of time talking to them about management of the residual limb. If they're a new amputee, how to care for their skin, how to manage their limb volume fluctuation and the fit of the socket. Because if they're a new amputee, that's probably one of the most frustrating parts, is just figuring out how to make that socket fit. As we're doing a lot of these treatments, I'm looking at the socket. Like, I am actively evaluating that socket and to see if it's fitting properly. How is the alignment on the prosthesis? Is this socket comfortable? Do I need to have a chit chat with the prosthetist to troubleshoot any issues that are going on? Okay. And then during this time, we're doing a lot of foundational gait exercises. And you guys I've got a lot of videos that I've done on that. And I was looking at some of my old videos today, and I might post one tomorrow, some of the foundational weight shifting exercises that I do. So the first parts of the treatment are spent building the foundation. And I really take my time to do that properly with my patients. I find that if I'm meticulous about that and we spend time building that foundation, all the higher level skills come a lot faster after that. And it just builds much, much faster after that. So yeah. Susan says, power knees are a no-go for OI, at least not with the Oprah. Okay, thank you for that, Susan. I wasn't sure about the power knees. I was like, that was one thing in the back of my head where I was just like, I wonder if power knees are available. So Beth asks, along those lines, when is the best time for a physical therapist to administer the first AMP No Pro eval? Okay, so what Beth is referring to is a functional test called the AMP Pro, AMP No Pro. So what's a functional test? As therapists, we have tools. They're called functional outcome measures, and we administer these tests to see where our patients are at with their mobility. And we have dozens of different functional outcome measure tools. So you have one for testing balance. You can have one for testing endurance. You can have one for testing how fast or how slow a patient can walk. There's a lot of these different tests, right? And they have standardized measures. Okay, so with these standardized measures, it lets us know where is our patient in relation to the rest of the population. Okay, so a lot of these tests are meant for folks with two limbs, right? There's not a lot out there specifically for amputees to test these same issues, right? A few years back, actually many, many, many years ago, a physical therapist named Bob Gailey, he developed something called the AMP Pro. And that is a functional outcome measure specifically for amputees. And in addition to being specifically for amputees, it also helps determine the K level of the amputee. Okay. And those of you who have been amputees for a while, you've heard K levels, because K levels are what determine what kind of prosthetic device you would be eligible for through your insurance company. Okay. So there's an AMP Pro, which is the functional test that's meant to be done with the prosthesis. And then there's the AMP No Pro, which is meant to be done without the prosthesis. So the reason why they might do an AMP No Pro is the person may still be waiting on their prosthesis. So it's a modified test. Okay. That can be administered at any point in time. When it comes to doing it for the purposes of trying to determine a K level, I would say the sooner the better. You can do it as many times as you want. There's no like set amount of times that you can administer an AMP No Pro. So if I have a patient coming in and we're not sure how the insurance company is going to work, if they're going to be friendly or not about approving the devices that are being requested, I'll go ahead and say, okay, let's do an AMP No Pro. Let's see where this person is at in their mobility and go from there. And if we see that the person has a lot of deficits, then that can kind of guide our treatment and saying, okay, let's focus on these functional issues that are scoring very low on this test. Let's focus our treatment efforts on that. Not only to, it helps improve the mobility of the patient, but then we can re-administer the test at a later date and show that there's an improvement. So when it comes to these functional outcome tests, Beth, it's basically, what is the need of the patient? What does the patient need? There are some patients that I don't administer any of these tests because there's just simply not a need for it. In their particular plan of care, they don't need it. They received the prosthetic devices that they need, and they're doing well with their componentry, and they are moving along with their physical therapy treatment, and we're good to go. So a lot of it, again, it just depends on the needs of the patient. Hope that answers your question. Okay, let's see. Let me look on Instagram. Okay. All right, guys. I think we've answered all the questions. So guys, again, if you're watching the replay, you're still watching the replay, I would love to know feedback for next year. What kind of shows do you guys want to watch? What kind of content on social media would you like for me to put out there? Do you want me to do more information, more patient demonstrations? What would you kind of like to see? And then all those of you who are signed up for my email e-blast, and I'm going to put it up here. Keep your eyes peeled because I will be sending out that survey in the next couple of weeks with the giveaway attached to it. If you're not yet signed up for my e-blast, you can go to cositalks.com and you can sign up through there. Pat says, right above the knee, 7.5 years out. I think I've been with you since the inception of your show. I think you have, Pat. Would be interested in seeing a future show regarding sports activities and equipment that are available and good for amputees. Certainly walking and running programs, but skiing, swimming, and hand cycling are beneficial and fun. And they also provide other means of enjoying the outdoors while getting the benefits of exercise. Absolutely. And I recently connected with a lovely, lovely man. He has a non-for-profit specifically for adapted fitness. So he reached out to me, and we've been chit-chatting about his work and how we could possibly collaborate. So that might have to be a future show at some point because he's got a lot of really great things that he's doing with the world of adaptive fitness. And I think that's something that needs to be expanded upon in this community for sure. Okay, let's see. All right, guys. What is the average cost of the pro, no pro evaluation? So usually, Van Gregory, when it comes to outcome measures, they're usually included in your treatment. So if you're working with a physical therapist and they feel like, okay, you would benefit from having one of these functional outcome measure tests done, then they'll bill your insurance as they would bill for any other part of the treatment they're doing on you. In my case, in my clinic, I don't work with insurance. I'm a cash only practice. And I do have like a specific protocol testing. So for example, I have some people that they're having a lot of trouble getting their prosthetic devices approved and they need to have a K-level testing done. So I have a bank of these functional outcome measure tests that I provide, and I will test the patient. It takes about 1 to 2 hours to administer all the different tests. But that's a separate private cost on the part of the patient. But if you're going through your insurance and you're being seen by a physical therapist, that is something that is typically covered. Therapist just needs to be familiar with that test and understand how to administer. So that's about it. All right, guys, it was good seeing you this evening. And again, I am really excited about next year and sharing about what I'm going to be working on more next year. Next week, what's next week? Next week is the 11th. So we're good. It's going to be a good general Q&A. So guys, send me your questions through the text messaging, through the Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, you know where to find me. Send me your questions and I will try to find you your answers. So as always, guys, thank you for letting me be a part of your lives this evening. I will see you next week. Same bat time.